is the global news on Atlantic Television Network. First, the headlines. Court discharges acquits Varsity Don accused of rape. Tribunal affirms Sanwo-Olu's election. The government unveils programs for 63rd anniversary celebration. NNPC others sign MOU to reduce contracting cycle. Mali's junta delays the February presidential election. Hilda Bassi others shortlisted for Africa Awards. 2023-2024 NPFL season begins September 30th. Thank you for joining us on the Global News tonight. Here is our bulletin in full. Magistrate Court sitting in Port Harcourt has discharged and acquitted a lecturer with the Rivers State University, Professor David Obona, who was standing trial on alleged sexual assault on a female student of the said institution. Obona, former head of Department of Microbiology, Rivers State University, was accused of sexually assaulting a 20-year-old female student of his department in his Obona's office sometime in June 2022. University Don was subsequently arrested and arraigned for sexual assault, but was later granted bail to the tune of 2 million naira and other stringent bail conditions. The Chief Magistrate Boromon Menenen in the judgment stressed that the prosecution team failed to prove their case against the accused. Menenen stated that the phone the female student claimed she used in recording Professor Obona's discussion with her on the day of the alleged incident was never tendered as exhibit to court during the trial. The magistrate noted that the compact disc the female student claimed she transferred the recording to was not also tendered in the course of the trial. Menanen also stated that the underwear of the female students claimed had stains of semen after the assault was not subjected to a forensic examination of any kind, and that the prosecution team failed to call the health worker who opined that Professor Bona has been innocent from the beginning and will continue to be innocent. Military Joint Task Force of Operation Delta Safe has arrested 8 barges conveying 100,000 liters of illegally refined automatic gas oil, popularly called diesel, in Rivers State. The Commandant Joint Task Force South OPDS, Olusegun Ferrere, told newsmen at the Creek of Bonny that the barges were arrested by the OPDS team in conjunction with some maritime units in the Bonny area. Pereira, who was represented by the Maritime Component Commander, Commodore Adedokun Sia Bade, said the operation was in line with the team's mandate to eradicate crude oil theft and criminality in the Niger Delta region. While reacting to these developments on Atlantic Television Network Society Watch, a strategist and public affairs analyst, Ambassador Bishop, and Dr. Ibioku Gospel, Bob Manuel, urged security operatives to up the ante on the first fight against oil theft, because it is now viewed as a legitimate business, accusing some security personnel of partnering with the vandals.
Oil theft is even seen as a business, or it's an illegal business because they don't have a license to lift oil. They break pipelines, and with connivance with even people within that system, they tried, even vessels coming to Nigeria to take oil. And again, what I think is the only way we can get it done is to get our security agencies to be on alert. And also internally, those from the local government, or every territory of Nigeria that has oil, has a government, has a local government. So from the local, and they have also local security men to the national. So, and they have what we call intelligence. So with all intelligence, but you know what I discovered? Why the oil theft has continued and it will not end. I can say it on camera because I see it every day. There are security men who work in tandem with these people. So they are not afraid. If you see one place where they do either is a fire or they are even extracting oil from a pipeline, in that area, the boys know the security people that take care of the area. And in most cases, from their proceeds, they settle them. And with that, instead of making them to stop that business, they even provide information for them to be safe, to know when they will come and when they will go. So there are no threat for the people who do the business. They see it quite well. Federal government will say it's an illegal business. But because the people that are supposed to make sure that illegality stops have become part of the business by devilish collaboration and the money they make. So as a result of that, it's not even seen as a criminal activity anymore. It is only when you are caught or when you cannot settle or you want to be stubborn or somebody who perhaps is having integrity, leading a team, tries to say, this one I will not compromise. That's when we hear of it. But every day, if I tell you the kind of resources that is made from illegal oil-based activity, a young man will not want to go to university.
Dr. Gospel also called on the federal government to deal with the sponsors of the vandals of oil thefts.
The security agencies and those that work with them, they know the sponsors. That's why when these boys are caught, they are released. Who come for their release? Who make the calls? Who pay the money for their release? And that's why I told you that for me, it's like an ongoing business that has been illegitimacy that has been legitimized with the agencies that are supposed to stop it and those that are also involved in the business. So they are even recruiting more people because when, like you said, when, it's just like you are backing, but you cannot buy it. And whenever you shout to say, oh, this man is a criminal, in fact, some of the boys will tell you, we are taking our product. Though, yes, federal government does whatever is under the ground, but that this is in our backyard. We don't have employment. We don't have jobs. And there is nothing we can do. We can't die in hunger. So we take the risk to continue to, since we have found value, and now we can create value from this thing, even if it means we die. So, and at times, they are ready to even confront the security agencies. And at times they do. There are casualties on all the sides. And again, even the security people at times feel, oh, instead of we to die, actually some of the things these boys are talking look sensible. Oh. Let's just understand and come to a meeting point. It's only when it is reported that it becomes a crime. If it is not reported, it becomes a business. So for me, the federal government have to know that we must pursue very serious industrialization in the Niger Delta area, where we convert most of this into other products, engage these boys. In those days, NAFCON alone was taking how many casualties? We should open a lot of things that are oil-related and beyond, industries and all that. Because if there is no job, a youth that is growing up, the man will marry. The man will live a particular life, whichever way lives that life. Like we're talking of somebody with 100 million. They are not saying it's pipeline that is doing surveillance for. It's against these boys not to be able to break the pipeline.
A socio-political group in Akwa Ibom State, Rise Ambassadors, has urged dissenting voices against the Traditional Rulers Council law as amended, recently passed to shun ethnic sentiments and rally round the law. The group has said the new law is aimed at elevating the status of the traditional institution in the state to bring it at par with those in other states. Some traditional rulers, as well as a few groups, had last week protested against the amended law, describing it as discriminatory. They rejected the provision making it Oku Ibom Ibibio, which is the highest traditional Sioux, precedent for life and non-rational to other ethnic blocs in the state. While addressing a press conference in New York, the national chairman of the group, Reverend Richard Peters, said there was no need to snuggle ethnic undertones into the good-intentioned action of the legislature. He said the law's aim of enabling the traditional rulers in the state to play in the big league of traditional institutions in Nigeria should not be truncated. He said that the common denominator among the traditional institutions in Nigeria is that the king reigns for life, a part of which he amended the amended TRC law was taken care of and urged them to see the idea of having a President General for the Supreme Traditional Rulers Council as a bold attempt to compete favorably with other ethnic groups in Nigeria in the traditional institution. While describing the protest as a distraction to the governor, the group urged the protesters to thread the path of love, unity, and oneness chartered by their founding fathers. The former dean of the Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Ndifon, who was suspended by the school authorities over allegations of sexual harassment of female students, has raised alarm over threats to his life. Ndifon, who was also accused of high-handedness by some staff and colleagues, spoke to journalists in Calabar in an interview. Now, you recall that following the suspension and constitution of a panel to probe the allegations, Ndifon headed to the industrial court in Calabar and refused to appear before the panel set up by the school authorities. He alleged that the panel would not be fair to him, claiming he narrowly escaped the kidnap attempt by some men disguised as security officials or supposedly sent by the school. The university don't claim he was in church at about 8:18 a.m., performing his duty as church warden on Sunday when some men who claimed to be security officers came to arrest him but disappeared before the Reverend Father and some parishioners could question them. Last week, some stakeholders of the university further accused the law professor of sponsoring media campaigns against the Vice Chancellor, Professor Florence Obi, where she was alleged of squandering school resources to buy houses in Abuja and employing her daughter without due authority. The Abia State Police Command has assured that it is diligently working to apprehend the criminals that killed a 65-year-old resident of Umumba, Sirimo Ubakala in Omaha South Local Government Area, Chibu Chigozie. The police public relations officer, ASP Maureen Chinaka, in a statement made available to the press, disclosed that the Ubakala Police Division in Abia State received a disturbing incident report. The deceased was later identified as Mr. Chibu Chigozie, a 65-year-old resident of Umumba, Nsirimo Ubakala, Omaha South Local Government Area. The PPRO further stated that officers promptly visited the crime scene, collected essential evidence, and took photographs. According to her, some suspects have been arrested and preliminary investigations are actively ongoing. The statement urged anyone with useful information regarding this case to contact the police immediately. The Lagos State Governorship Election Tribunal has dismissed the preliminary objection of the All Progressive Congress, which asked it to dismiss the petition of the People's Democratic Party. The preliminary objection was dismissed because the petitioner did not comply with provisions of the Electoral Act about payment of security as to cost. A member of the tribunal's three-member panel, Justice Mikel Abdullahi, who read some preliminary motions challenging the competence of some aspects of the petition, dismissed the objection. Labour Party's governorship candidate, Gbadebo Rhodes Vivo, and the People's Democratic Party's governorship candidate, Olajide Adediran, popularly known as Jando, are challenging the victory of Sanwo-Olu at the March 18, 2023 governorship election. The Independent National Electoral Commission had declared Sanwo-Olu of the All Progressive Congress winner of the March 18 governorship election. Sanwo-Olu had won the election by a landslide, defeating Rhodes Vivo of the Labour Party, who came second. The Lagos State Governor polled 762,134 votes to beat Rhodes Vivo, who scored 312,329 votes. Jide Adediran Janda of the PDP gave a distant third, polling 62,449 votes. Meanwhile, the Labour Party's petition that its name be struck out from the PDP petition succeeded. The Lagos State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has affirmed Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's election. Lagos State Traffic Management Authority has confirmed that the 45th container fell on a Toyota Corolla car on Ojo-Elegba Bridge in one stadium on Sunday night, but no death was recorded. LASTMA Traffic Officer Olajide Olukoga confirmed the incident in a statement signed by the Director of Public Affairs and Enlightenment Department, Taofik Adebayo, on Monday in Lagos. Olukoga said 3 persons were injured in the accident that occurred at 10:30 p.m. He said the operatives of LASTMA, police, and other emergency respondents had rescued 3 casualties from the trapped saloon car, registration number JJJ811FB. He said out of the 3 casualties rescued from the car, only 1 male came out unhurt and was allowed to go home immediately. He said the remaining 2 casualties, a male and a female adult, were rushed to the hospital by the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency ambulance. The traffic officer, however, said the police from Surulere Division were at the scene to provide adequate security, while LASMA officials diverted traffic to the service lane. He added that rescue and recovery operators completed work at 11:30 p.m. while the temporarily closed Jolegba Bridge was immediately reopened for vehicular movement by LASMA officials. Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Lucky Ayedatiwa, has approached the State High Court sitting in Akure to stop the impeachment process initiated by the State House of Assembly against him. In the suit number filed by Mr. Ebun Adenoruwa, the embattled Deputy Governor asked the court to stop the impeachment process against him pending the hearing and determination of the suit that he had filed in court. The State House of Assembly began the process of impeachment of the Deputy Governor last week as he wrote a letter to Ayedatiwa over an allegation of gross misconduct while he was in office as an acting governor. Defendants in the suit include the Ondo State government, the Governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, the Ondo State House of Assembly, the Speaker of Ondo State House of Assembly, Olumide Oladiji, the Clerk of Ondo State House of Assembly, and Chief Judge of Ondo State. In the originating summons, the Deputy Governor was seeking an injunction restraining the defendants and their agents, privies, and representatives from interfering with restricting, disempowering, and/or preventing the claimant from discharging his constitutional duties and functions as a duly elected Deputy Governor of Ondo State in a joint and equal ticket with the Governor of the Ondo State. Ayedatiwa sought an order setting aside any purported process or notice of any allegations of gross misconduct against the claimant on the ground that such process or notice is a violation of Section 188 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Benue State Commissioner for Information, Culture and Tourism, Matthew Abo, has been abducted by a non-gunman in Zakibiam, Okukum, local government area of the state. A former special advisor on media and ICT to the immediate past governor of the state, Ahab Agezua, broke the news of the alleged kidnap on his Facebook page. He disclosed that the newly inaugurated commissioner was taken away by armed men who stormed his private residence at about 8 p.m. on Sunday. Agezua in the post disclosed that the armed men besieged the home of the commissioner on motorbikes and took him away at gunpoint after ordering his wife, children, and others who were with him to lie face down. Efforts to get the reaction of the police public relations officer, Superintendent Catherine Anene, were unsuccessful. Meanwhile, the Benue State Governor, Reverend Father Hyacinth Alia, has condemned the abduction of the Commissioner for Information, Culture and Tourism, Matthew Abo, and former Chief Chairman of Ukom Local Government Area, Ayowoshina Uka, by a non-gunman. A statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Sir Teso Kula, the Governor described the acts as barbaric, condemnable, and unacceptable. He assured that the state government and security agencies were working to rescue them from the kidnappers' den. Abo was kidnapped by a non-gunman in his Sankara home at about 8 p.m. on Sunday, while Uruka was abducted on Saturday. The kidnappers who took the duo to yet to be identified locations have made contact with the family of Eruka, but are yet to contact Abo's family. Kula said the governor has already detained the detailed security agencies to immediately commence operations to ensure the safe release of the duo. The High Court sitting in Lokoja has struck out a suit filed by Dino Melayi, candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the November 11 governorship election in Kogi State, to challenge campaign charges imposed on political parties by the Kogi State Signage and Advertisement Agency. The agency had directed political parties to pay the sum of 50 million naira before mounting billboards and pasting posters ahead of the governorship poll. The political parties were also instructed 2 million naira for each billboard mounted in the state. Malayi had in an ex parte motion dated September 12 prayed the court to declare the charges imposed by the agency as illegal. However, in a ruling, the presiding judge, Justice Ruth Alpha, struck out the motion for lack of merit. The judge held that the ex parte motion was defective, and as a result, she did not delve into the particulars of the suit. The Independent National Electoral Commission is organizing a mock accreditation exercise in 27 polling units across 3 states where all cycle governorship elections are scheduled for later this year. The exercise, which is to test run the bimodal voter accreditation system ahead of the election, would be conducted in the 3 states on Saturday, October 14, 2023. The National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, Sam Olumekun, disclosed this in a statement in Abuja on Monday, September 25th. He said the exercise would take place simultaneously in a maximum of 3 polling units per senatorial district across the 3 states. Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State has announced the sacking of his special advisor on stakeholders relations, Anthony Oga. The sack is contained in a statement issued in Lokoja by Folashade Arike Ayade, Secretary to the government of Kogi State. The government said that the sack takes effect from Sunday. Governor Yahaya Bello, however, extended his best wishes to Oga in his future endeavors. The statement further said, although no reason was given for Oga's dismissal, but Oga was instructed to promptly hand over his identity card and any other government property or document in his possession to the Permanent Secretary Administration in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the State. Nigeria Immigration Service, Kebbi Command, has handed over a 22-year-old suspected victim of human trafficking to the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons. The controller of the NIS in the state, Mrs. Rabbi Bashir Nuhu, made this known on Monday in Benin, Kebbi, while addressing newsmen. Bashir Nuhu said the victim from Kwara was arrested in Kebbi while traveling to Libya en route Sokoto State when she was arrested by immigration border personnel in Yauri local government area of the state, and adding that the victim was arrested on Sunday. He disclosed that between February 2022 and the date, the commander had intercepted and handed over 52 Libya-bound victims of trafficking to NAPTIP in the state, aside from this victim. According to her, the victims were arrested on Monday going to Libya and route to Yauri to Sokoto. The comptroller reassured that the NIS would not allow any suspicious character or person profiting from human trafficking to escape the service dragnet. Meanwhile, the victim has confirmed that she was going to Libya upon her sister's invitation, who claimed to have come to secure a house-help job for her. While receiving the victims, Ms. Bahu Kaura, State Commander NAPTIP, said the agency would undertake a thorough investigation of the matter. 2 of the victims abducted by unknown gunmen in the early hours of Monday at Jeba community of Kwara State have been identified. They are Kola Isikiru Bosere, a businessman involved in the charcoal business, and his assistant, known as Philemon. The gunmen struck at the residence of the businessman Kola Isikiru Bosere at Jeba community. The suspected kidnappers invaded Sikiru's residence at the labor camp area of Jeba in Moro local government area of Kwara State. At about midnight, Sikiru, who exports charcoal to other countries, was given away by gunmen alongside his assailants. Mr. Philemon was later released, while Sikiru's whereabouts have remained unknown. ATN learned that Philemon is currently hospitalized at a private health facility in Jeba, which Police Public Relations Officer, Kwara State Police Command, SP Okasanmi Ajayi, confirmed the incident, adding that the police have since launched a search and rescue operation. The Chief of Air Staff, Marshal Hassan Abubakar, has stated that his command philosophy is to transform the Nigerian Air Force into an agile and resilient force that effectively meets the air power demands of national security in all operational environments, which is critical towards building the capabilities of the NAV for future air warfare. Abubakar also noted that any armed forces that fail to prepare for the probable future would always be reactive rather than being proactive in its approach to national security issues. Chief of Air Staff made this statement during his paper presentation as a guest lecturer at the Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Jaji, Kaduna State, on the topic, The Future of Air Warfare in the Nigerian Air Force, My Command Philosophy. He said Air Marshal Abubakar noted that the nature of the future air warfare would be determined by a number of factors, including internal and external threats, the national security and the national economic fortune, and the air power capabilities of the service.
The thrust of my command philosophy is to transform the Nigerian Air Force into an agile and resilient force that effectively meets the air power demands of national security in all operational environments. To actualize this philosophy, while ensuring continuity in policy in the face of daunting challenges, I identified 5 key enablers. These are optimizing force structure and establishment for enhanced operational effectiveness, deliberate training and mission-oriented force development, proactive logistics support and strong maintenance culture, as well as prioritizing research and development, leveraging cutting-edge technology, strategic partnerships, and lessons learned. Last but not the least of the key enablers to my command philosophy is maintaining a highly motivated force by enhancing welfare and infrastructural renewal.
Earlier in his address, the Commandant Armed Forces Command and Staff College, AVM Hassan Alhaji, says they brought service chiefs to deliver lectures so as the officers will have first-hand information on what is expected of them. While fielding questions from newsmen, the Chief of Air Staff reiterated his commitment towards a better and more secure nation.
As commandant of this college, I made clear a number of things that have to change for this college as we aspire to make this college an international center of excellence. And deliver it themselves so that you have an insight, visibility into their thinking. It is not just for you to know what's going to happen now or in the future, it's also to inspire you to become better leaders yourselves. The service chiefs that will lead the armed forces in our future might be seated right here where you are. And it is time for you to start thinking in that direction. If given the opportunity, what would you do for this country? What would you do for the people of this country? What would you do for our continent? That should be the focus. And that it should be enough to inspire you to achieve excellence on this course. And I will conclude by telling you that the word Hassan, in its purest form, means excellence. So the Chief of the Air Staff represents by his
effects, a negative effect on our national security and defense if we have to continuously depend on the foreign vendors for provision of our defense needs. So we realize this, and we try to establish a very robust R&D organization to wean ourselves off this dependence. We have gone very far. Nigerian Air Force has achieved a lot in terms of R&D. Some of the products that we have been able to come up with from our R&D have been patented. And we now have proprietary ownership of those technologies, and we can, even going forward, produce them and sell commercially. And it's a work in progress. There are a lot of other projects. You will have also heard of the Gurma and Segumi UAVs. Those are fully 100% Nigerian Air Force research and development efforts, and those are some of the products. We are at very advanced stages in completely having a UAV that is fully produced and operated by the Nigerian Air Force. I'm sure in the next couple of months, we'll be able to achieve that.
Thank you, sir.
Governor Uba Sani of Kaduna State has inaugurated state-of-the-art mobile medical trucks to provide medical services to access hard-to-reach communities in the state. The governor, who was represented by his deputy, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, said the medical facilities will help children, pregnant women, amongst others, in rural communities. Dr. Hadiza Sabuwa Balarabe also said the mobile medical trucks will boost healthcare services and enhance the well-being and survival of Kaduna State citizens.
Healthcare system. Among the initiatives we took, we have procured state-of-the-art mobile diagnostic units, which will facilitate the provision of quality integrated services to our far-to-reach, hard-to-reach, and other underserved communities. These mobile units will offer a range of services, including maternal, newborn, and child health interventions, radiology services, and also boast of facilities for the laboratory diagnosis of ailments such as malaria, HIV, hepatitis B and C, tuberculosis, and many more. In furtherance to all this, they will serve as vital tools for ongoing disease surveillance initiatives while strengthening basic clinical services, referrals, and linkages to a continuum of care.
The state government also said it is making efforts to ensure universal health coverage under sustainable development goals.
These trucks will provide a platform for regular advocacy, social and community mobilization activities, and other campaigns. It is our firm belief that this initiative will result in substantial improvements in our health indicators and position us to be among the top subnational governments striving to achieve universal health coverage and the Sustainable Development Goals.
The Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria says efforts are being made to curtail the ongoing immigration of nurses abroad and to ensure better welfare for the ones providing services in the country. The Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of the Council, Dr. Farouk Abubakar, disclosed this in Kaduna at the 2023 Maiden General Meeting Scientific Conference of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwife Northwest Zone. Abubakar, who was the guest of honor at the event, submitted that to curtail the situation of nurses and migration, necessary facilities, welfare, adequate insurance for the nurses, better working environment, and brain drain will be a thing of the past. Other speakers at the event expressed joy over the scientific conference for nurses and midwives, which will provide necessary skills and knowledge required for better service delivery.
Skills in terms of their attitude, in terms of well-being, working environment. But the only thing I can do, major challenge is they are working under stress. Stress in the sense that the manpower is shortage. And no matter how they want to deliver, if you have a maximum of 40 patients with only 2 nurses, that's not possible to deliver quality care. So if the government can certainly employ and recruit more nurses and midwives, I assure you Nigerian nurses are also excellent in terms of healthcare delivery. And they are among the nurses that are performing excellent all over the world. And I want to say proudly that I'm proud to say Nigerian nurses are one of the best nurses that can work anywhere in the world.
Very, very well. I am a tutor. I teach. And during the time when we produce nurses, we are producing them to serve our own hospitals. I am an advocate now, having retired, so I do a lot of advocacy. And what we saw in some of the facilities in the government hospital is that majority of the hospitals are not having the required number of nurses that do practice. And we have been going to
the former governor, and we will be visiting the present governor, to make sure that, what we require in the facilities are available. Because some of you see a primary health care center with only one midwife, while we need about 4. Because they have to rotate in the 24 hours. They receive deliveries. But in some facilities you see one. In others there is none. And that's what the registrar has just confirmed to us, that, a lot of them are going. And we were told that, in the next 10 years or so, or 7 years or so, a lot more will go. So we need to really work hard, both by the government and the institutions, so that, we train those that are going to remain with us.
Actually, we cannot say everything is perfect. Of course, we are bedeviled with the issue of insecurity. We have not come out of that. This has been our call always on the government, that the government needs to improve on the security situation in the state. We are aware that some local governments are difficult to penetrate. To travel from here to Benungwali is difficult. So, and then some of the primary healthcare centers in the rural areas, they are difficult to access. The healthcare workers themselves are afraid to go to those type of places. So talk less of the patient. So you can't admit a patient in those facilities. Now, even the healthcare worker that is in that facility is also afraid. So imagine somebody that's supposed to provide care and is afraid. His heart is not at rest. So how will he provide quality healthcare service?
Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State has called for an urgent and comprehensive investigation by the federal government into the secretive negotiations held with bandits in the state. According to the state government, a report indicated that the delegation allegedly sent by some agencies of the federal government has been holding talks with bandits groups in Zamfara without the knowledge of the state government. Lawal, in a statement by his spokesperson, Suleiman Bala Idris, lamented the action of some federal government agencies engaged in negotiation with bandits who, without seeking recourse from the state government and other security agencies. He also called on the federal government to clarify the action of these federal agencies, which is clearly at variance with the state government's adoption of a kinetic strategy in the fight against the banditry. Police command in the Federal Capital Territory says relevant authorities have begun an investigation into the cause of the fire outbreak at the Supreme Court in Abuja. The police public relations officer in FCT, SP Josephine Ade, said this in a statement on Monday in Abuja. She said the situation was already under control as personnel of the fire service and the police were on ground. Ade said the chambers of 2 judges were affected by the fire outbreak that started at about 7 a.m. According to her, 2 chambers of 2 judges are affected and properties destroyed are yet to be ascertained. At the moment, she added that the cause of the fire outbreak was still being investigated by appropriate authorities. The Upper Area Court, Kubwa, Abuja, has ordered that Abba Mohammed be remanded in a correction center for alleged theft. Judge Muhammad Wakili gave the order after Mohammed pleaded guilty to the said offense. Wakili, who, however, adjourned the matter until October 9 for sentencing. The police had charged the defendants with criminal trespass and theft. Earlier, the prosecution counsel SP Babajide Olanikpekun told the court that Mohammed entered a shop at Gado Nasco Road, Kubwa, Abuja, on the guise of buying a gas cylinder on September 11. Olanikpekun said that Mohammed allegedly stole the 23,500 naira cash from one Uchenna Maduba, but while attempting to escape, he was arrested. The prosecution counsel said the money was recovered from Mohammed, adding that the offense contravened sections 348 and 288 of the Penal Code. Section 288 states that whoever commits theft shall be punished with imprisonment for 7 years or a fine or both. The Federal High Court in Abuja has reserved judgment in a suit filed by Murtala Ajaka, the Social Democratic Party candidate in November 11 governorship election in Kogi State against Governor Yahaya Bello and others over alleged plan to arrest him. Justice Iyang Eko, in a short ruling, adjourned the matter after Ajaka's counsel, S.E. Aruwa, and lawyer to the governor, A.M. Adoyi, and other lawyers representing respondents in the suit adopted their processes in the support and against the suit. Earlier, Adoyi told the court that a preliminary objection with a written address was filed on Governor Bello's behalf on July 19. Besides, the lawyer who said a counter affidavit was also filed urged the court to strike out the suit for want of jurisdiction. But Arua said their application was dated and filed on July 11. He said a reply on points of law and a further affidavit was also filed in response to Bello and others processing in urging the court to grant their reliefs. Ajaka, in the fundamental rights enforcement suit, had sought protection from the court over a alleged plan to arrest him. In his ruling, the judge held that he found merit in the ex parte motion and affidavit of urgency that the applicant brought before the court. He therefore issued an order restraining the respondents, their agents, servants, and anybody acting through or under them from arresting, inviting, detaining, or threatening the applicant's life and property pending the hearing and determination of the substantive suit. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this break.
Illegally. That is amazing. Honorable student, you human trafficking. Honorable student, you
they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds. I am in the
with the EU, but
Good to have you back on the Global News tonight. Here is the rest of our stories. Special Assistant to Atiku Abubakar on Public Communications, Mr. Frank Shaibu, have asked Nigerians to be wary of what he described as a deliberate ploy by the President Bola Tinubu's administration to use propaganda to deceive citizens. Shaibu, in a statement in Abuja, advised Nigerian media to always fact-check any claim made by this government, as this would help maintain their credibility. In reaction to these developments, an Atlantic Television Network open conversation, a socio-political analyst, Dr. Obidima commended the People's Democratic Party for playing its role as an opposition party and critically looking at the activities of the present government.
Yes, on daily basis, we have to critically look at the activities of government on the program and also bring it to the knowledge of the public, educate the public and others, so the public will not all the time be deceived by propaganda and all those kind of shenanigans that go with politics and governance. You know, I don't think that Gelale or the presidency will react to what is obvious. This is quite they are in public domain. They are common knowledge to all of us that we've been shouting on these things. You know, which one has what are they going to report that we have seen never took place, like the UAE visa listing?
Yeah.
That the authority of this thing came and declared the Nigerian government as a liar. You know, then the student loan that is started here or there, even if they didn't increase school fees, if you read that very law, it's a booby trap for anybody that want to go into it. And you are even signing a student loan, that you have not created that kind of productive environment where students, when they graduate, can be engaged in activities that can enable them to pay this loan back. But you now shift it to their parents, their poor parents, you know. So, and the increase in the school fees, and the schools standing on that, and the government has not even come clearly, other than making some statements that have no weight.
Dr. Obidima also called on the presidency to critically scrutinize its policies before releasing them to the public domain.
But what opposition is doing now is a debt
On him.
on him. If it's a creative government, they have to now strategize their activities in messaging and communication. In fact, in Gilali, I've listened to him. I see a whole lot of infantilism in his messaging. I see exuberance. You know, I see somebody who is not really carved and matured for that position. Or in trying to please the master, you are causing more harm and damage. That is the perception of Nigerians now. And perception has a lot. And for the government to really fix it, either they will do him, they will do away with him, or they will critically look at issues before they come to the public. If this opposition can be sustained, you know, and that will not put government on its toe, that will not put government, you know, to begin to do things rightly, not to deceive the people. Because there's no way they can refute or put a kind of a bad image, a dent on the administration.
Army College, Nigeria in Abuja held a military exercise codenamed the exercise Star Ride for Court 7 2023 participants. Commandant of the college, Major General Ishaya Maina, said the exercise is targeted towards equipping the participants with skills and knowledge necessary to effectively respond to contemporary security challenges. He said the exercise integrates various aspects of national security, interagency coordination, logistics planning, counter-terrorism and stabilization operations. Maina said the participants would have the opportunity to practice the planning, preparation and execution of critical aspects as commanders and staff under diverse operational scenarios at the highest level. Yes, he said the exercise was critical in preparing the operational level leaders to tackle the complex and evolving security landscape in the country. The commandant said the exercise reflected the college's dedication to developing leaders who can work collaboratively across different agencies and domains to safeguard national security. He said it was the final exercise for the participants of Course 7, designed to test the participants and all they had learned during the period of the course. Navy Holdings Limited has dismissed allegations of corruption against its Executive Director Operations, Commander Gabriel Aligwe, NHL Public Relations Officer, Commander Blessed Nuhu. In a statement on Monday in Abuja, described the allegations as malicious. The Network Against Corruption and Trafficking had, in a statement called on the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission to investigate the officer. NACAT had, in a statement by its Director of Investigation, Ogane Doro Tega, also called on the Chief of Defense Staff and Chief of Naval Staff to investigate Aligwe for alleged violation of public rules and abuse of office. The group also accused the naval officer of allegedly frustrating contractors and accepting kickbacks for his personal gains, among other allegations. While reacting to these allegations, spokesperson for the Navy Holding said the new management resumed at NHL about 2 months ago, adding that no contract had been awarded to anyone by the new management since the assumption of office. In an effort to further checkmate insecurity in the country, the federal government has paid for 12 helicopters aiming at enhancing the operation of the Nigerian Army in the fight against insecurity. The Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja disclosed this in Jaji at the 46th Senior Course Program, where he also said the procurement of the weapon is to increase operational efficiency. While charging the senior officers to lead by example, Lagbaja said no stone will be left unturned to maintain discipline within the military cycle and also improve on the welfare of the Nigerian Army. According to General Lagbaja, the Nigerian Army has commenced affordable house ownership option for all soldiers, under which 2- and 3-bedroom houses will be provided to subscribing soldiers. In his remarks, the Commandant's College of Armed Forces, Jaji AVM Hassan Alhaji, reiterated his commitment towards ensuring that the college becomes international standard of excellence.
Acquire these helicopters, what we intend to achieve is to have organic helicopters with the formations and units in the field, so that if they are going for patrols, there is an helicopter overhead that will provide intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance report to them, and that can even provide air interdiction.
And deliver themselves, so that you have an insight, visibility into their thinking. It is not just for you to know what's going to happen now or in the future, it's also to inspire you to become better leaders yourselves. The service chiefs that will lead the armed forces in our future might be seated right here where you are. And it is time for you to start thinking in that direction. If given the opportunity, what would you do for this country? What would you do for the people of this country? What would you do for our continent? That should be the focus. And that it should be enough to inspire you to achieve excellence on this course. And I will conclude by telling you that the word Hassan, in its purest form, means excellence. So the Chief of the Air Staff represents by his...
will be left unturned to ensure that the Nigerian Army remains operationally effective in all its endeavors. Operational effectiveness under my watch will rest on 5 pillars of combat readiness, synergy, information and intelligence, innovation, and sustenance. The Nigerian Army is a disciplined organization, and I intend to ensure fair dispensation of justice across the service. There shall be appropriate sanctions for misdeeds in line with extant regulations and sustain it. To this end, I intend to motivate through tangible welfare packages by providing befitting accommodation for officers and soldiers and their families. In this regard, the Nigerian Army is commencing an affordable house ownership option for all soldiers, under which 2- and 3-bedroom houses will be provided to subscribing soldiers. We have put measures in place to ensure this scheme does not go the way of the previous post
2023-2024 legal year commenced with the Court of Appeal holding a special court section on Monday. The legal year ceremony is a long-established tradition ushering in the new legal year and also provides an opportunity for justices to reflect on the successes and challenges of the previous year, review them, and explore what lies ahead. The session has in attendance the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariola, retired Chief Justices of the Supreme Court, the Justices of the Court of Appeal, and heads of courts. Also in attendance are the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, and the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Esomwike. Others are the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Barao Jibrin, Chairman House Committee on Judiciary, Oluwole Oke, President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Yakubu Michael, and Senior Advocates of Nigeria. But the government says no world leader had been invited for the 63rd independence anniversary scheduled for October 1st. The government said the decision was taken in line with its option for a low-key celebration. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, stated this during a press conference in Abuja. According to him, the celebration is particularly important at this time, having witnessed an unbroken democratic record since 1999, as well as the seamless, successful and peaceful presidential transition program from one government to another. Among the programs lined up for the event include Anniversary Symposium, public lecture on Thursday, September 28, 2023 at State House Conference Center by 10 a.m., lecture on Friday, September 29, 2023 at the National Mosque Conference Center by 10 a.m. and Jumat prayer at the National Mosque at 1 p.m. Akume also announced presidential broadcast on Sunday, October 12, 2023 at 7 a.m. interdenominational church service on Sunday, October 1st, 2023 at the National Christian Center at 10 a.m. and military parade on Monday, October 2nd, 2023 at the Presidential Villa at 9 a.m. African Ministers' Council on Water has tasked African countries to ramp up efforts to strengthen the systems that would improve the water sanitation and hygiene program and make water more accessible for Africans in line with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. AMCO's Executive Secretary, Dr. Rashid Mbazira, made the call on Monday in Abuja. Mbazira assured the AMCO would continue to promote the implementation and utilization of the African Sanitation Policy Guidelines in member countries. He said that the ASPG was formulated using standards from global best practices, noting that its adoption would ensure safely managed sanitation services for the populace. He added that Nigeria had been a major partner in AMCO's activities, saying more efforts were needed to close the huge sanitation gaps in the country. This, he said, would strengthen the enabling environment for scaling up sanitation and hygiene services. The government has confirmed 7,202 cases of diphtheria out of the 11,587 suspected cases across 105 local government areas in 18 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. The federal government disclosed this in a joint press statement signed by the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare, the National Primary Health Care Development Agency, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and other development partners. The statement noted that most of the confirmed cases were recorded in Kano, with 6,185 cases. Other states with cases are Yobe, 640, Katsina, 213, Borno State, 95, Kaduna, 16, Jigawa, 14, Bauchi, 8, Lagos, 8, FCT, 5, Gombe, 5, Osun, 3, Sokoto, 3, Niger, 2, Cross River, 1, Enugu, 1, Imo State 1, Nasarawa State 1, and Zamfara State 1. It stated that 5,299 of the confirmed cases, which is 73.6%, occurred among children aged 1 to 14 years, with those aged 5 to 14 years bearing most of the brunt of the disease. So far, a total of 453 deaths have occurred in confirmed cases, giving a case fatality rate of 6.3%. The government, however, said it has been coordinating surveillance and response activities across the country since the outbreak of the disease in December 2022. Diphtheria, caused by a toxin produced by the bacteria Corynebacterium diphtheriae, is a vaccine-preventable disease covered by one of the vaccines provided routinely through Nigeria's childhood immunization schedule. National Education Trust Fund has inaugurated an ad hoc committee on the establishment of multi-purpose laboratories in select universities in the country. Executive Secretary of that fund, Sonny Echono, disclosed this on Monday in Abuja while inaugurating the committee, noting that the move was part of efforts to provide the relevant infrastructure to aid research in the country. The Third Fund Board said the agency is deploying billions of naira to fund research programs and projects with a view to deepening the institutionalization of research and development to tackle national challenges. Echono added that Third Fund provided resources to support groundbreaking research in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and how deficits in laboratory infrastructure posed a major challenge to researchers. In his acceptance speech, Bamiro, who commended Echono for setting up the committee, expressed the readiness of the team to deliver on this assigned task. Other members of the committee are Professor Ekanem Braid, Professor Joseph Ahaneku, Professor Suleiman Mustafa, Professor Yusuf Saidu, Professor Nasir Isa Fagei, Professor Abubakar S. Sambo, Professor Ibrahim Katankwe, and Malam Buhari Mikhailo. President Bola Tinubu has restated his administration's commitment to promoting ease of trade for small and medium enterprises across Africa. Tinubu gave the assurance during the Africa International Trade Exhibition 2023's Business, Trade and Investment Summit on the sideline of the 78th edition of the United Nations General Assembly. Tunde Makalabi, the chairman organizing committee for Business, Trade and Investment Summit's component of the exhibition program, made this known in a statement on Monday. The summit was organized by Mr. Makalabi, Professor Tai Balofin, President of Nigerian Progressive Professionals, and Ms. Kuraira Musa, Chief Executive Officer of K-Pro Consulting of New York, represented by the Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite. Tinubu assured investors that the federal government would take the necessary steps to ensure the ease of trade in the country. Earlier, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development Festus Keyamo urged both foreign and local investors to take advantage of Nigeria's huge population, traffic, and thriving aviation market to invest in the sector. In attendance were the FCT Minister of State, Maria Mahmood, Senator Ireti Kingibe, wife of Osun Governor Titiola Adeleke, the Nigerian High Commissioner to Canada, Ambassador Adeyenka Asekun, among others. And here is the business news for tonight. Cement Producers Association of Nigeria has warned that the plan of the federal government to introduce a concrete roads will increase the price of cement to 9,000 naira. The association issued this warning in a statement jointly signed by the National Chairman, Prince David Iweta, and National Secretary, Chief Regan Ufomba. The price of cement per bag currently sells at the rate of 5,000 naira. The association also called on the current administration to permanently address the perennial cement price hike problem by facilitating larger participation in the cement industry, noting that Nigerians have no business buying cement for more than 5,600 per bag. Ufomba commended the Works Minister position on cement-made roads, but warned of the consequences if the supply end is not addressed properly. The cement producers urged the government to lay more emphasis on road design that allows both cement technology and asphalt pavement to run concurrently and provide ample time for a smooth transition that allows contractors to invest in commensurate and requisite equipment and retooling. In a bid to improve efficiency and reduce costs per barrel, the federal government has signed a deal with oil and gas industry operators that would reduce the contracting cycle to not more than 180 working days. A statement by NNPC Limited disclosed that a memorandum of understanding to this effect was signed in Abuja by the company and the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board with the international oil companies. NNPC Limited explained that the agreement was a demonstration of its commitment to the efficiency mandate as enshrined in the Petroleum Industry Act, which is hinged on developing an industry framework for an optimized contracting cycle. It stated that an optimized contracting cycle is expected to improve the ease of doing business, reduce cost, and drive efficiency, which will eventually translate the production growth, increase the revenues, and ultimately improve the profitability. Speaking at the event, the group CEO, NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, said signing the agreement heralds exciting times for the nation's oil and gas industry and stands as a bold testimony that the company is plunging into the future of hope, productivity, and success. Represented by NNPC's Executive Vice President Upstream, Mrs. Oriseme Yua Ayesan, Kyari added that the oil and gas as the bedrock of Nigeria's economy, there is the need to get the contracting process in the industry right so as to get the economy back on track. On his part, the Executive Secretary NCDMB, Engineer Simbi Wabote, described the MOU signing as a way forward and a critical step towards enhancing the nation's crude oil production. Speaking separately, the IOC is represented by the MDs, country chairs of Shell, ExxonMobil, Chevron, Total Energies, and Eni all pledged their commitment and support towards the implementation of the MOU for the benefit of all parties. And here is the international stories for tonight. Libya's Prosecutor General has ordered the arrest of 8 officials as part of his inquiry into the recent flood disaster which killed thousands. The flash flood, which witnesses likened to a tsunami, broke through aging dams on September 10 after a hurricane-strength storm lashed the area around Derna, a port city in Libya's east. The officials are suspected of bad management and negligence. A statement from the Prosecutor General's office said they served in offices responsible for water resources and dam management. Libya is now divided between an internationally recognized Tripoli-based administration in the west, to which Saw belongs, and another in the flood-struck east. Eastern forces years ago launched a failed assault on the capital, which ended in a 2020 ceasefire. Mali's ruling junta has announced that it would delay a presidential election scheduled for February that was aimed at returning civilian leaders to power in the jihadist-hit West African nation. The government spokesman Abdullahi Maiga said the 2 rounds initially set for February 4th and 18, 2024 will be slightly postponed for technical reasons. Those reasons include issues linked to the adoption this year of a new constitution and a view of the electoral list. He also cited a dispute with the French tech company Idemia, which the junta says is involved in the census process. Maiga further said the new date for the presidential election will be communicated later. North Korea will allow foreign nationals to enter the country from Monday after over 3 years of COVID-induced isolation. North Korea has been largely closed off from the outside world since early 2020 when it shut its borders in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, with even its own nationals prevented from entering. It shows signs of a reopening, with leader Kim Jong-un traveling to Russia to meet with President Vladimir Putin and sending athletes to compete in the Asian Games in China's eastern city of Hangzhou. Beijing's state broadcaster said North Korea had announced it would allow foreigners to enter its territory, adding that they will be subject to a 2-day quarantine upon arrival, although it did not give further information about the source of the announcement. Sicilian mafia boss Matteo Messina Denaro, captured in January after 3 decades on the run, has died in a hospital in central Italy, taking to the grave the secrets of his brutal reign. The 61-year-old had been treated for colon cancer while detained in a high-security jail in L'Aquila, but was moved last month to a hospital after his condition deteriorated. L'Aquila Mayor Pierluigi Biondo confirmed the mobster's death in this hospital overnight following a worsening of his illness. His death puts the end to a story of violence and blood, Biondi said, and thanked prison and hospital staff for their professionalism and humanity. Messina Denaro was one of the most ruthless bosses in Cosa Nostra, the real-life Sicilian crime syndicate depicted in the Godfather movies. He was convinced of involvement in the murder of anti-mafia judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino in 1992 and in deadly bombings in Rome, Florence, and Milan in 1993. And here is entertainment stories for tonight. Hilda Bassi, the Guinness World Record holder, climate change and youth development activist Oluwaseyi Moejo, the Tigress coach Ena Wakama, founder Stella Initiative Precious Enyaya Yeka, and popular social media influencer Enyoluwa Adeoluwa have been nominated for the prestigious Future Africa Awards. Other nominees in the Young Person of the Year category are reporter with Punch newspaper Deborah Tolu Kolowale has been nominated for the prestigious Future Africa Awards. Tolu Kolowale, who works at the Abuja Bureau of the Punch, was nominated in the journalism category of the award alongside Akinlade Abiodun and Pelumi Salako, nominated in the sports category, and Victor Osimhen, Toby Amusan, Asisa Toshola, Michelle Alozie, Mary Busayo Olatunji, and Ese Brume. The award, which is in its 17th edition, honors young people between the ages of 18 and 31 for outstanding achievements yearly. With the theme Defying Odds, Inspiring Greatness, a total of 128 persons were nominated across 25 categories. The organizers at the unveiling of the nominees on Sunday said the nominees had distinguished themselves in their various fields. Veteran Nollywood actor Kanaya says the movie industry shouldn't be a dumping ground for Brazilian butt-lift corporate sex workers and gays. He said the Nigerian motion picture industry is supposed to be a ground for creativity. Speaking in an interview, the legendary thespian also said the movie industry should not be a ground for amateurs, stressing that it is supposed to be a ground for honing talent. He, however, said everybody is welcome to join the movie industry, but added that they should make sure they have calling for acting. Screenwriters in the US say they have reached a tentative deal with studio bosses that could see them end a strike that has lasted nearly 5 months. The Writers Guild of America said it was exceptional, with meaningful gains and protections for writers it wants. It is the longest strike to affect Hollywood in decades and has halted most of film and TV production. A separate dispute involves actors who are also on strike. The writers' walkout, which began on 2nd May, has cost the U.S. economy around $5 billion, according to an estimate from Milken Institute economist Calvin Cloden. The dispute has shut down many of America's top shows, including The Last of Us, Billions, Stranger Things, The Handmaid's Tale, Hacks, Severance, Yellow Jackets, About Elementary, and several daytime and late-night talk shows. And here is the sports news for tonight. The 2023-2024 Nigerian Professional Football League season would kick off this weekend. The NPFL board made the announcement in an official communication to all 20 clubs. The league body also declared that all the clubs will receive a 20 million take-off grant. Matches involving CAF Confederation Cup campaigners Rivers United FC and Bendel Insurance FC will be put on hold due to the continental engagement this weekend. Rivers United will entertain Etoile Delante of Burkina Faso in the second leg of their second round at the Adokia Mercy Stadium in Port Harcourt on Sunday. Bendel Insurance will travel away in Morocco for their second leg clash against former champions RS Berkane. Two-time Ballon d'Or winner Alexia Putellas and 2 other Spain players will testify before a judge over the Women's World Cup case scandal involving Luis Rubiales. Putellas defender Irene Paredes and goalkeeper Misa Rodriguez are all slated to testify on October 2nd in the case against Rubiales, who is facing sexual assault charges after kissing midfielder Jenny Hermosa on the lips after Spain beat England in the final on August 20. Rubiales was head of Spain's RFEF, a football federation at the time, but has since resigned. He made his first appearance in court on September 15. Putelas, one of 4 players who captained the national squad, was quick to publicly defend Hermosa in the scandal that erupted over the forcible case, denouncing Rubiala's refusal to resign as unacceptable. Barcelona defender Paredes, also a national squad captain, and Rodriguez, who was on the bench for the final, will also testify at next week's section. On Monday, investigating Judge Francisco, the judge heard a testimony from Hermosa's brother and one of her friends. The disgraced former football boss is also facing charges of coercion after Hermosa stated that she and those close to her have suffered constant ongoing pressure by Louis Rubiales and his professional entourage to justify and condone his actions. And that's the size of the global news for tonight. But before we go, here is another look at the major stories. Court discharges acquit of Vasti Don accused of rape. Tribunal affirms some will lose election. The government unveils programs for 63rd anniversary celebration. NNPC order signed MOU to reduce contracting cycle. Mali's junta delays a February presidential election. Hilda Bassi order shortlisted for Africa Awards. 2023-2024 NPFL season begins September 30. I'm Vivian Douglas. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms. On X, we are Atlantic TV Net. On Facebook and YouTube, we're Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Good night.